Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. I love that song, Shabs. Going in today's show, we're going to have special guest Cherry Peel Jackson. She was the Ex-I.R.S. agent that was going up against the IRS and wrote the book, How to Stick It to the IRS. But today, you are watching, well, if you're on Blog Talk, you're watching, but you're listening to our viewers who are listening, the ones that are watching. I want to make sure that I give you the guest call-in number, which is 310-982-4184. Again, 310-982-4184. If you would like to listen in to the show, and if you would like to get in queue to speak to the host, you just press number 1 from your dial pad, to get in queue to raise your hand. We're going to even attempt for those that are online to get the chat going, so you can drop me a few of your questions, a few statements, and so that we can you can become part of the discussion. So right now we're going to talk about new technology. So it looks as if Uber is in the news where they are creating some new electric scooters. And they are also, Uber came out with some flying cars. They should be hitting the market 2020. And they're going to start off with these flying cars where you can make it to your home or a centralized location to major areas in the city, like taxi cabs, starting in 2028 is when they're going to roll that out and also make them available for sale. So all of you that are into getting into some stocks, now would be a good time because it looks as if they are just starting their prototype. Also, The Rock, remember the wrestler, The Rock, he's been doing his thing in the movie. He has a new movie out called Skyscraper. Now, I personally think that Dwayne Johnson, that is The Rock's real name, that he is a pretty good actor. So he says, well, actually it is some critics. They say that Dwayne Johnson or The Rock's role in the movie Skyscraper is shamelessly a ripoff of Die Hard. Hey, I like Die Hard. Die Hard is the bomb. Was in its day, still is right now. But if The Rock is in a new action movie and it has some Die Hard features to it, I think it's a compliment because the guys who did Die Hard, I mean, really, they're like holy crap right now. So keep it going. Keep that energy moving. Hey, you're listening to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. We're going to discuss whatever you want to discuss, talk about whatever you want to talk about. There's no hold bars here. You can dial in at 310-982-4184. Again, 310-982-4184. To raise your hand, just dial 1 from your dial pad. And in the meantime, we're going to go to a short commercial break and pay some bills. Hi, I'm Rahchamah. Need office space, a business phone system, or a business address for your home-based, mobile, online, expanding, or downsizing business? Go to www.businessfront.space. You can reserve fully furnished private office or meeting space by the hour, utilities and Wi-Fi included. Reserve now at www.businessfront.space. Never miss your mail with our informed delivery service. No matter where you are in the world, sign up for a physical address today at www.businessfront.space. Calling all singers, rappers, musicians, and entertainers. Yah Heard Radio has radio promotion for you. Yah Heard, Download our app, Yah Heard Radio, that's YAHHEARD Radio, from your Google Play Store today. Yah Heard Radio provides a commercial platform for independent artists. Tune in our live stream at www.yahheardradio.com and join our international listeners for commercial-free clean music in all genres. Have your music played among the best. Build your fan base, receive licensing and royalty opportunities. For promotion or more information, go to our Contact Us page at www.yahheardradio and create your login credentials for access to log in to sign up. For more information, call 904-900-5517. Yah Heard.
You don't have to lose your home due to foreclosure. You don't have to worry about child support. You don't have to be in credit card debt. Have no fear. Rahchamah El Bey is here at newdebtelimination.com. Got student loans, child support, mortgages? Contact someone who's got the experience and the knowledge to get you back under God's law. That's Rahchamah El Bey. He's been there, he's done that, and he can prove it. Just give him a call at 904-303-9061. That number again is 904-303-9061. And log on to newdebtelimination.com. That's newdebtelimination.com and get yourself free.
Okay, before you rush out to save the world, have you made up your own bed yet? Does being a secured party make you invincible? The answer is no. But what are the benefits of being a secured party? Go to www.newdebtelimination.com. That's www.newdebtelimination.com. Or call me, Rahchamah El Bey, directly, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You be a secured party creditor, but the most important part about all of it is knowing what it is and knowing exactly what to do with it. That's extremely important. www.newdebtelimination.com. Hi, I'm Rahchamah El Bey. I'm not a lawyer and don't give out legal advice. But if you are looking for an opportunity to have your very own general post, your very own professional domicile, or if you need legal advice, go to www.newdebtelimination.com and look up top to your right. Click on the new custom page button. It's all the way over to the right. And right below the video on that page, you'll see the links for the general post as well as the link for getting legal advice. If you have any further questions, call me, Rahchamah El Bey, 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. That's 904-303-9061 before 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Everything you need is right at www.newdebtelimination.com. You're non-resident? Well, if you are, you need your own general post. www.newdebtelimination.com.
And now, back to the show with Rahchamah and Moorish Talk Live 100.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. Today's guest that we'll have later on will be Ex-I.R.S.Agent Sherry Peel Jackson. And I see that we have some callers that are in the queue that has raised their hands. Any other ones that are listening to us, this live broadcast today, the call-in number for you is 310-982-4184. Again, 310-982-4184. And you just dial the number 1, so that you can get in queue, raise your hands. We're going to see if we can get the chat going for you in a little bit so that you can drop me some questions and some comments, and we can have some of your topics to be heard, and you can just interact. So just to let you know a little bit about Rahchamah. Who's Rahchamah? Rahchamah is conscious, and you are here with me on my conscious couch, and we're just going to sit along like family, and we're just going to discuss some things that we need to discuss. This is an episode that I want to do called Vent. So we're going to make that part of the show where I want some callers to call in. When I say vent, I want you to tell me what is going on in your conscious mind. Let it off your chest. Of course, keep it PG. That's how we do it. But not only do I do the show here, but I also have a radio station, Yah Heard Radio. It's a commercial platform for independent artists. So for all of you that want to brand your products, your services, or businesses, you would like to add your music, you got all your publishing and everything made, you can be able to play it on a commercial platform with other large artists. And if your associations are signed up, like the ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, things of that nature, you'll be able to get a royalty check. So most definitely hit us up over there at YahHeardRadio.com. You can download our app from your Google Play Store, and that's YahHeard Radio.com. We're going to drop in on one of our callers to see how you're doing. You're on Rahchamah's Conscious Couch sitting next to me. How are you doing, caller?
Hello?
Caller ending in 8803.
Yes, ma'am. I have a couple of questions for Ms. Jackson. Is there a such thing as the IRS Publication 6209? Why did the second question is, why did Wesley Snipes go to jail? And 3, what does someone have to do to actually stop paying taxes?
What was that last question?
What does someone have to do to just stop paying taxes to the IRS? Because I know she's done it. Those are my 3 questions.
Those are great questions. And I'm gonna keep you on. I'm gonna keep you in queue on the line. I'm not gonna lose you, but I'm just gonna put you on the whole queue. And when we bring her in, I'm gonna most definitely address those questions and let her correspond back to you in a few. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that call. Thank you for your call. The callers are surely coming in. And, again, you're on Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. There are some other things that we have to finish up on our news headlines. So, of course, in the news, last show we were talking about privacy and Facebook and things of that nature. There was a really good show. There was a really good colloquy that was going on where, as of July 2018, the U.S. government bought out Facebook. Ooh, and I've been seeing these requests saying download this new thing called WhatsApp. Well, Facebook bought WhatsApp. The United States government bought Facebook, and Facebook opened up this sector of their company in Dublin, which is another country, so that they could evade the taxes. Isn't that ironic, right? So, it's just amazing how the corporations and everything that they are just stacked with having dummy corporations and other corporations owning it, and they're doing all these buying and selling. Another thing that was in the news that really got me was, do you guys remember Run DMC from back in the 80s? And, of course, everyone knows about the brand Adidas. So come to find out that just like back in the 1920s, Jesse Owens, everyone knows who Jesse Owens is, the fastest man alive, until 80 years later. But Adidas did a contract with him, and their shoes did not become popular in the 1920s until they got Jesse Owens to wear them and endorse them. So when the 1980s came, Run DMC, their manager had this brainstorming idea to get endorsements. And they brought the president of Adidas at that time to one of their shows and told everybody, take off your sneakers and rock your Adidas. And everyone did it, and they saw the influence that they had in the music sector, that they signed them a $1 million deal endorsement. So I thought that was pretty awesome because they were the first ones in the hip-hop, in the rap industry to get an endorsement. And since then, every artist, they have opened up the doors for them. So, and then Adidas became popular again. So I think that it was pretty cool that you have people like that have made some highlights and have made their way into different sectors. We have someone else in the queue that I'm going to bring in on some topics and some discussions that we wanted to go over. And that would be my co-host, Tahaka. Tahaka, you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, sister?
I'm doing great. I'm doing awesome. And there was something that I know that we were discussing that I had wanted to discuss before we get into the topic of our guest on the show with you remember we was talking about the IRS issue with Miss Peel, Miss Jackson, and the reason why it was an interest on the show is our perception of some people that came after her that went through the same, I guess you would say, became under fire and was taken to court for criminal issues with the IRS, and why was it that they were not affected the way that she was affected? What is your concept? What is your opinion or your observation on how that went down? What made her case different than the others?
Well, basically, first of all, we have to understand what the Internal Revenue Service is. The Internal Revenue Service is a private for-profit company, period, just like any other company. And their job is to balance the books, because what we, as the opposed to be operating under this corporate system simply by signature alone. And taxing is a voluntary situation, and everything operates on contract. But as far as your question about why was one treated differently than the other, in my opinion, they both suffered the same fate, because what the Internal Revenue Service wants to do is to continue to make a profit, and they want to still masquerade as a government agency, but they are not a government agency because we do not have a government. We have a conglomerate of corporations. The United States is currently operating in a bankruptcy, but what they will do with somebody who tries to expose the truth, like Shirley Peel Jackson, she was an agent for the IRS as well as Bannister, and when she discovered the fraud about income tax, there being no law that you had to pay income tax, she went on a crusade to expose them, and the IRS came out and wanted to use her or to make her as an example in the face of the general public to lead us to believe that she has done something wrong. She has committed some type of criminal act, and they took her to prosecuting her, and she fought against them. And, of course, it's all a fraud, and there's certain kind of ways that you have to deal with when you're dealing with the court system and the criminal network. However, coming behind her was Mr. Bannister, who they personally know each other. And it's a situation where if you see something happening to a colleague, and you witness this thing, and you're doing the same thing that they're doing, you're able to learn from what happened to the colleague to not to suffer the same fate, but at the same time remain in the battle. And this is pretty much what happened. Bannister was able to watch and see what she did, what happened in the fight, where she made her mistakes at. So he didn't make those mistakes. But nevertheless, they came after him with all he got. Now, keep in mind that neither Sherry Peel Jackson or Bannister had broken the law. There was no criminal activity on their part. The criminal activity was on the Internal Revenue Service part, behalf. That's what happened in that situation.
And the very interesting thing that interests me the most, I remember some issues, some cases, because I volunteer for and have some nonprofit, some advocacy agencies or whatnot. And I remember there was a wave of frivolous filings being sent out notices by the IRS, and where they threatened to levy your wages, levy your income and garnish them through the employer and through your bank and whatnot. And so initially what they do is they send you out this reply correspondence, telling you, that they received some type of frivolous filing and they're going to charge you a $5,000 penalty. Now, I know when I read one of these statements before, it gives you about a 30-day time period where you should reply back to it, and then they want for you to amend the previous tax, if it's in reference to a tax return that was sent in within 30 days, or to cancel the filing that you had made within that 30-day period to avoid the penalty. And some of the people in the private group, do you remember they were doing these things where they were using 1099 OIDs and things of that nature and sending them to different agencies, and they were the ones who were receiving these and were suffering from them. And of course, they were arguing the fact of the legalities of the position of the IRS, but because they did not make that amendment, from what I learned after speaking with the IRS, they didn't make those amendments. They didn't cancel out the other one that was originally made. Then that's where they assessed the $5,000 penalty and then went forward trying to collect them. So with just paying attention to that, and then requesting the information of the original return that they allege was improper or that was wrong, from there you're able to make the amendment, because you're only allowed to file one return a year. So some people, they were filing more than one. Anytime you send in that 1040, and you already had one done previously, for those who do file taxes with the regular income tax return, I learned that that counts as two, and so one of them has to be real and one of them has to be false. And so you either have to merge the two together, that's the amendment, or you have to cancel the one that was done in order to get rid of that the potential $5,000 fee. There's also some advocacy agencies that I've seen that were out there. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it'll come to me in a moment. But they're supposed to be these tax advocates. They're supposed to help you with, from Congress, mandated through Congress, because they don't work for the IRS. It's supposed to help you with fighting them, and you bring your documents and everything to them if you don't know what to do, and they are free. And so it'll come to me in just a moment, but just on that, what is it that you have the comment on about what you have maybe heard or experienced about people who were dealing with those $5,000 frivolous filings?
Well, when we hear, first of all, when we hear the word frivolous filing, the first question we have to ask is, who is it that is calling it frivolous? because we have to stop looking at a situation where you take and attempt to file some documents with the county recorder's office, and because they do not like what you are attempting to do, or if you're attempting to file a lawsuit against one of the people that they know, or against a well-known judge that they know and stuff, well, that's a frivolous filing, this kind of business. Because you have to understand that we're not dealing with law. We're dealing with a criminal network. We're dealing with people who pretty much do what they want to do, but you have to lock them down. When we're looking at a situation involving a $5,000 thing, and now who is it that is saying, putting this out there as to be something that is paid? Who is it that's doing that? Is it the Internal Revenue Service that's doing that? So if it's the Internal Revenue Service that's doing that, we know that the Internal Revenue Service is a private corporation. It has nothing to do with government. As long as we have this fixated in our mind, then we treat them the way we're supposed to treat them, as a private corporation. There was a man that I knew. You can go back on right there on YouTube and type in Carl Lentz, Karl and Lentz, Carl Lentz. Carl Lentz's mother is an IRS agent. And he said, my mama told me that if anybody sent anything to her, or direct anything to her to sign it involving the IRS, she said she's not signing anything because she already knows that what they're doing is a criminal network, is a criminal operation. So I don't know anything about a $5,000 thing. The only time that I ever came into the contact with the IRS on more than one occasion, I had a 75, 80-year-old man come here and told me to come to my house and told me that the IRS was trying to stick him for over $30,000. So me and him sit down and we did up some paperwork, and we called the IRS out on it. And they told us to give them 60 days to look over the paperwork that we sent them, and they'll get back with us. Now, that was 5 years ago. We ain't heard another peep out. Because what I did was let them know that I know who you are and what you are. Now, let's talk about this thing. So that's how I deal with it. You have another question? Are you there, sister?
Yes, most definitely. I'm here. Hold on 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I was having Miss Peel calling in on the other end, so I'm trying to direct her into the main line. We are getting ready to bring her in just a moment, and there is some other information we're going to go into. It's going to be great about these filings that we do receive from the IRS. Thank you for your input, Taharka. I'm going to go to a quick commercial break while we bring our guests on the show.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to go to a quick commercial break while they were, one of the other guests had finished talking. What was that you were just asking? I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just trying to find out the duration of the show.
Oh, okay. So the show is usually from 3 to 5, and so we're going to when you dial in, I'm going to give a quick introduction or whatnot again. Like I said, we're on commercial break right now, and then we're going to. So basically what we're going to discuss about is,
and welcome to the R-Spot. This is the place where we discuss everything about relationships. And in this, our last offering for the year 2016, I want to talk about a very important and often very stressful relationship.
our relationship with money. Now, as we enter the season of merriment and giving, or shall I say stressing and buying, it's important to understand and expand our relationship with money. You see, we live in a society where most of us have been trained and conditioned to believe what are called 4 myths about money. I want to address those. Myth number 1, there's not enough money to go around. How many of us believe that? Myth number 2, more money is better. Well, that seems to make perfectly good sense until you get to myth number 3, which is I have to work hard to get money. And then myth number 4, that's just the way it is. It'll always be that way, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it except to work hard and hope I can get enough to stay afloat. Now, these myths create a way of thinking and living that's based on unexamined and unconscious assumptions that create a consciousness of scarcity and fear that gets heightened at certain times of the year. Now, when it comes to money, so many of us are resigned and discouraged. We attach our personal value and sense of worth to the amount of money or cash that we have or that we have access to. Then we are pressured by cultural beliefs that often uses money in a way that doesn't support us in becoming the best of who we are. And these cultural conditions of stress and upset and lack and fear
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. You have returned to the show where we have special guest I.R.S.Agent Sherry Peel Jackson, Ex-I.R.S.Agent Sherry Peel Jackson, which will be joining us in a moment. I love that commercial that we just listened to about knowing what your self-worth is. You know, I myself being an entrepreneur, you know, always try to educate people that are in the workforce industry to just look at their capabilities, because people downsize themselves a lot about what their capabilities really are, even in the work area that they're in, which means that they say, I've heard people say, I don't have the skill, I don't have the talent, I don't receive the ideas to become an entrepreneur. I wouldn't know what to do. And that is so far from the truth. It's so far from the truth, because whatever your respective position is in the business that you're in, you're holding it down. You're running it. You're becoming a very important part of that team to help manage it. Rather, if you're in a position of management or control or just the function and fluidity of that business structure, you're doing it. And I think the problem is that so many people just go to work and they're about, you know, their job. Just, you know, I'm just going to do what I'm paid to do just to get by, whatever is, you know, minimally necessary to receive my paycheck. And they don't know anything more about who is it that I'm working for and how this whole system, how this thing works. You know, they don't go to their company's website to see what it even says to the public about what it does. And so when someone comes into your job and say, I want to do this, I want to do that, or I need to accomplish this, accomplish that, and you're sitting up there looking at them like, I don't know nothing about that, you trying to do something illegal. But these people have done research. They know not everyone comes into, I think what I'm venting right now, because my issue is that people need to stop thinking that every time they come into a company or organization, a business structure, I don't care if it's a government facility, that they're coming to be instructed. Like the population is like so dumbed down that they coming in there and they know kind of like what they want to accomplish, but they don't know how to go about doing it or whatever. Some people actually come in and they know what your job is and what the people above your job is and how you're supposed to complete their action from A to Z, and you're just supposed to push the paper. So, like, you're pushing that paper. So, it's like, you know, I'm just that one that will go into a place and I shut it down. I mean, like, that if I'm at a cubicle, everybody that's working stop doing what they're doing. so they can come see what's going on down there where I am. And I'm like, listen, I don't have time to educate you today. That was your supervisor, your manager, your team meeting job. It's a time and a place, and I don't mind. So that's me venting, my conscious blockades that come up in my life that, so people get to know, where you are, where you work, and you'll be surprised that you're holding it down, that and you look at how much of an integral part you play in where you work, that you can say, I could do this, because they utilize your energy. And if they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and you say, I need to make more money, I need a second job, all those type of things, and time is money, you're just in this rat race type of a cycle where if insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, then you need to realize and get to a point where they're able to make the money that they make because they're duplicating themselves through you, through your energy. And you should put yourself in the position to do the same thing. Rather, if you have, I know I've seen some of Sherry Pill's videos, and she was talking about where she is right now, going from 6 figures to nothing, and then coming out of her situation after her incarceration and going from nothing to 6 figures again. And she advocates how important having a home-based business is. Even on the side, you're either going to make money off of what you love to do, something that you never thought about charging for, that you're just good at, or a mixture of them all in one. I know when I had my wake-up call, I was working for a furniture company, and I was trained to do everything up in there. I thought the man was just getting extra free labor out of me, but I realized I could do anything in this store. And then when it got to a point where I said I wanted my raises, I wanted to advance in the company, and I had my last straw. We were like number one in the region for a year straight. I didn't even have a sales manager. And when I wanted to move up in position, the guy that was in collections, they took him and said, no, you can't have this position. This guy has, because he's military, so he gets first opportunity at it. Okay, all right, fine. But so like a whole year, number one in the industry, in the region rather, in sales. I'm supposed to have a sales manager above me helping me pull in some sales. I don't have that. And then when the position opened up, they said, they took the guy from out of collections and says, I need for you to train him for the sales manager position. I'm like them people were crazy and stupid. Okay, let me get this right. So instead of bumping me up to sales manager and letting him take my place, you want for me to teach him how to tell me what to do. Okay. And then when they put a sign out on the window that says anybody can come in from off the street and apply, no experience necessary for a manager trainee position, manager-owned store, I had my last straw. I had a wake-up call that said, I'm the one who make these sales. I'm the one who, these customers come and see. People buy from you because they like you or they need what you have, or a combination of them both. And if I can do this for them, if I just did it for myself, I'd be a bad bee. That's what I said. I had that wake-up call. So I challenge each and every one of you to stop downgrading yourself. Start paying attention to your surroundings, the places that you work at. Be more familiar with how they run, which is, I'm not saying go into their secret file cabinets and, list the keys and go through their secret documents. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you should be able to be aware of what the public knows. Go on their website, see how they're doing business, the services they offer, and whatnot, so that you can give better customer service and give yourself more credit to realizing the opportunities that are in you, and don't be able to step out there and do for yourself what you're doing for other people, because, we do have to transition over to self-sufficiency. You shouldn't be in a place where someone else dictates your self-worth and your value. You should be able to do that. You don't have to plan your life around some other people. You can't go take a vacation, a sick day. You feel like a bad parent because you have to choose a job. You feel like a bad employee because you have to do something for the family. Or you have to always give someone excuses. You should dictate your own self-worth and value. You shouldn't let that hourly wage say, this is all you worth. Your income is capped. You know that if I miss a day, this is it's just predictable. This is what I make, and they cap you off. Your life is on eggshells if they decide to lay you off or fire you or whatnot. So just challenging everyone out there to find your craft, learn more about yourself to love you, do a little something on the side to just light that fire in you and grow. And like I said, Ms. Peel was talking about how that is part of how to stick it to the IRS, because there are so many amenities in having a home-based business, a side business, where you could take that income and you can write it off. You can write those expenses off on your income and everything, on your taxes, on your deductions. And so she's going to go more into talking about that. And I think that it's so wonderful, just her story of how she was able to come back, because when you think someone is trying to break you, they're teaching you even more than what they have done before, and they're actually helping you make you. They're not making you, but they're helping you make you. So, again, you're listening to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch, presents Ex-I.R.S. Agent Sherry Phil Jackson. All those who would like to call in, the guest call-in number is 310-982-4184. Again, 310-982-4184. For all of those that are already in the queue, all you have to do is dial 1 on your dial pad so that you can raise your hand and you can get in queue so that you can speak to the host. So dial 1 on your phone if you haven't already so that you can get on queue, and it will raise your hand to let me know that you're in queue to speak with the host of the show. Some of the we're going to go back to our caller before. That was caller number 8803 in just a second. They had about 3 questions for Ms. Peel, and one was they wanted to know a little bit more in detail about publication 6209, what that was about, and what happened in the Wesley Snipes case, and actually what you need to do to stop paying taxes. But, of course, I'll let that caller word it the way that they wanted to word it. I do see, I guess, in queue, if you could just dial 1, press 1 on your phone key. I believe it's 1 or 1 pound, so that you can raise your hand and get in queue. Awesome. Thank you. And also, okay, guest 8803, you're on the line. Could you restate your question again for those 3 questions again for our guest, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, Ms. Jackson. How are you? Hello? Hello?
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Can you hear me?
How are you?
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
I'm great. How are you?
All right. I'm familiar with all your work that you've done, and I just have 3 questions. Is there such thing as the IRS publication 6209 stating that you're volunteering to pay taxes? That's one. The second question is, why is it that Wesley Snipes went to jail about taxation? And 3, what do you have to do to just completely stop paying taxes?
Okay, I'll go in that order.
Yes, ma'am.
The 6209 is a publication, and it basically has a lot of codes in it. And what you do is you get this transcript, and it's supposed to be a transcript transcriber. So you have a transcript that the IRS produces, and it has lots of different little numbers on it and lots of different little letters and phrases. And the 6209 is a thick booklet that is supposed to transcribe those and see and have you see what it is. So it's like the IRS decoder. Now, to answer your question, I am going to give you a real live example of what happened. I was asked to come down to the courthouse in Atlanta. This was before my own situation. One of my colleagues, which is John Turner. John Turner was a former IRS revenue in California. He was asked to be an expert witness in the case of a Delta pilot that had decided to keep what he earned. This particular person had not given tax returns to the IRS in several years, and he was being brought up on charges. John Turner was brought in to be the expert witness. When it was time for John Turner to testify on this man's behalf, it was John's job to show that the 6209 codes that transcribed this guy's personal transcript said that he was not required to file. The first thing that happened was that the prosecution tried to ensure that John was not brought on as an expert witness. Of course, that didn't work because they had brought on a series of other current revenue agents or officers, IRS employees, and it wasn't fair that John wasn't able to get up there. So when they were not able to stop him from being an expert witness, the judge himself told the jury to leave the room so that he could find out what John's testimony was going to be. John was very articulate. He had this Delta pilot's transcript in his hand, and he went through all of the little codes and stuff and showed in this man's transcript that there was a code that said this man was not required to file. The judge slammed down the gavel and said, no, I'm not going to let him testify in front of the jury. Get up off the bench. John had to get up and go out, and the jury was escorted back into the courtroom, never having known what John said. Does that answer your question about that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's coming from the horse's mouth. I was sitting right there with my mouth on the floor when that judge said that. So that lets you know that when people are in a jury and they're being escorted out so that there can be some discussion, probably the good, juicy part of what they should be hearing is never heard. Second question was about Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes decided to get some education for himself, and I'm aware of that because people that were in my circles were telling me that Wesley Snipes was getting an education concerning the income tax and the Federal Reserve and all that. Because he is such a big name and because he decided he had already filed the tax returns, but from what I understand, he sent in to get his money back based on the fact or the premise that he did not owe the money and he wanted to get the money back. They wanted to make an example of Wesley Snipes, and I'm just happy to say that among the felonies that they had in they had indicted him and had some felonies, the jury dismissed all those felonies. But since we are taught from birth that there is nothing sure in life but death and taxes, these people could not understand that Wesley Snipes understood that he was not liable. So they got Wesley Snipes on the very same charges of misdemeanor, willful failure to file tax returns as I had. So Wesley Snipes got a 3-year sentence for willful failure to file tax returns, which is a misdemeanor. So he was made an example. Wesley Snipes is not the only one in Hollywood that knows that this is a fraud. I happen to know that. There are several other people that know and understand. However, some people will decide to fight their battles differently. They do not want to fall on the sword like me and Wesley Snipes did, but they do know the truth. For example, I'm not going to name any names, but there was an A-list actor that sent my family $10,000 while I was incarcerated to pay the mortgage to make sure that we didn't lose the house. So they know. I've talked to several other A-list actors that know that this is a fraud. However, they're making millions of dollars, and they choose to fight their battles differently, but they do know. The third question was about how do I just stop paying? For most of us that are over 25 years old, that have our tentacles, that they have their tentacles deep inside of, because we didn't know about what the true law is and the true situation about our country when we were younger, we have filed income tax returns, and we have been using our slave surveillance number, our Social Security number for all these years, and it's very, very hard. Okay, our slave surveillance number. So what it is that the IRS has to prove income, and you have to prove expenses. But these third parties out here called corporations and companies are sending in 1099s, W-2s, K-1s, and all these similar forms. These forms are sworn affidavits to the IRS that you received taxable income. So as long as you are receiving a W-2 or a 1099 or a K-1 or those kinds of forms, they have a number on there saying that they are swearing to the IRS that you made $20 or $30 or $50 or $70 or $100,000. And the IRS expects you to give them blood money for that. So as long as you're getting that, then you have to make a decision as to whether you're going to continue to get that. Now, people right now, and you talked about it a little bit earlier, are trying to get a little bit freer from the system because the banks are involved too. Let me go on a rabbit trail and say that in my case, the government's first 3 documents or their first 3 exhibits against me were, number 1, the driver's license, number 2, the bank signature card, and number 3, the Social Security card. Those are the things that get us tied up in this contract. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, when you have your own business, now you all may not like your president. I don't give a hot flash about either one of them because the Republicans and the Democrats are sleeping in the same bed and they're screwing us all. However, this man understands the tax law and he takes advantage of it. And what I'm trying to tell people to do is learn their game and beat them at it. He takes advantage of the tax law. So when Hillary Clinton stood up there during the election season and said, Donald Trump didn't pay his taxes, I knew exactly what she was doing. She was lying and manipulating because he took advantage of the tax law to where he took advantage of the net operating losses, and she does the same thing, and all of them do the same thing. So what we have to do is be smart people, start our own businesses, and be able to write off everything but the kitchen sink just like they do. So as long as we're working for someone else, making someone else rich and receiving a W-2, or as long as we're self-employed, which means we own a job, and we're receiving 1099, then you're going to have somebody reporting to the IRS that you made money. So we've got to make some changes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Now, another thing, Miss Sherry Peel Jackson, that I wanted to discuss with you is that in your book you talked about not only just the home-based business but markup methods that they use. Like for the examples that you had given, they can say with the quantity of the use of certain products or solutions with some type of statistic that they use and say this is how much money you should have made from off of this. If that ever happens to someone, is it a good argument to say, well, you have to prove that I made that much because that's not what I like to use, that's not what I prefer? I mean, because you do have the right, if you do have a beauty salon, because of different conditions and lengths of people in the porousness of certain people's hair, just for example, you can use how much you need to or you want to. I mean, how is it that you can get around and that happens to you?
Okay, so let me go back and make sure that the listeners understand what you're talking about. There's a program called the Market Segment Specialization Program, or MSSP for short. There are certain market segments that the IRS targets. Usually these segments are cash businesses. And the one that you use, and I think I used in the book, was beauty shops. So what they have done, under the presupposition that a business writes off all its expenses but does not report all of its income, the IRS will come in and audit the beauty shop. And within that audit, they will collect all of the expenses, all of the receipts that beauty shop owner has, thinking that, okay, they wrote off all their expenses, so here's all their receipts. They will take all of the shampoo and all the relaxer and all those things, and through some calculations that have been made up by somebody in some back office somewhere, and based on the initial interview that they have had with that beauty shop owner, and here's another rabbit trail, there's an initial interview that the IRS has when they audit you. It's very, very sneaky the way they get all this information out of you that you think is innocent. But because they have interviewed the beauty shop owner and found out that she charges $80 for a relaxer and $50 for a washing set and $70 for this and $20 for that, then they use those numbers and they calculate based on, let's say, a 20 or 50-ounce bottle of shampoo or relaxer, how many heads should have been done with that shampoo or relaxer. And then they extrapolate back into that an amount. So they will say, Miss Jones, on your tax return, you said that your beauty shop made $50,000, but our calculations say you made $80,000. What you're asking me is, can you do something about that? But first I want to say, a lot of times the beauty shop owner is too afraid to buck the IRS for several reasons, one of which is because they know that they took a lot of cash out of their business during the year, and that's what they do, and the IRS knows they do it. Beauty shop owners, from my experience at the IRS, will take all the cash that they made on Friday and take their families out to dinner Friday and to the movies and party on the weekend, so they don't even report a lot of the cash, and that's what the IRS is going by there. The person that's being audited is so afraid of the IRS that, let's say for the sake of argument, that during the calendar year, they did take $10,000 out in cash and use it for bills and use it for presents and use it for stuff. But there's a big difference between $50,000 and $80,000. And they're too afraid to fight it because they weren't keeping up with how much cash they took out and used personally. So that's what normally happens. They're too scared to buck it. They knew they took money, and they'll go ahead and get on a payment plan and be on the IRS slave rolls for the rest of their lives or until they can pay it off. But, yes, you can fight that. You can say to them, your calculation is wrong. I have to use a little bit more, or a whole lot of that got wasted, or, you know, we had a flood. You can, whatever the reasons are, you can explain to them that I reported the amount of income, which was $50,000 in my case, and that's how much it was. Now, you can't say that if your bank account says 80 or 90. So they do check your bank account, and if you got $80,000 or $90,000 in the bank, you can't come back and say you only made 50. But if you have $50,000 in your bank and you say you made 50, they will have to prove if you made 80. If they're saying you made 80, they got to prove it.
Okay, good. Now, I know one of the big deals from what I hear from a lot of people, the biggest request, there's a lot of people that are trying to transition from being on record as filling out those W-4s, getting the W-2s. I personally, I want to tell you my story. I went down to the IRS just to inquire about these questions. I was reading the IRS website as well as the Social Security Administration's website. Now, on the IRS website says that they issue out 3 numbers, the EIN, TIN, and the SSN, but they just have the SSA, which is Social Security Administration, to issue out those numbers because it has its own thing it has going on for social reform. So I went in person to the IRS, and I asked the agent, I said, well, am I supposed, the IRS, the Social Security Administration website says I'm not supposed to give my Social Security number to no one. It's only to pay into the Social Reform Program for social welfare. So if you go get a job someplace, what are you supposed to give them? So the guy was telling me that there is EIN number for a sole proprietor that is assigned to your Social Security number that you are supposed to apply for and get, and use that when you're applying for jobs for taxation purposes. But people are just not educated. They don't read. They don't utilize it. So the Social Security Administration kind of merged it all into the system for people who don't know how to manage their affairs or their business. So my question to you is this. If you ever heard of that, number one, and number two, how is it that someone that is an employee that is either getting ready to apply for a job or maybe they already work for someone, can they change their their W-4? They can use a W-9 for employers that require for you to fill out W-4s? And what is the difference? Can you use, to your knowledge, the EIN number versus the Social Security number when dealing with employment?
Okay, that's a really good one, and I've been through that situation also. When I got educated, I sent my children's slave surveillance numbers back to the Social Security Administration and told them that my children will not be using these numbers. When they got a little older and it got time for college and some other things, and they didn't have a number, then I had to look up the law, and it basically says these numbers are not required. And I talked to the people at the Social Security Administration, and they said, well, yeah, they're really not required, but we can't stop governmental agencies nor private corporations from requiring them from you. And if they require them from you and you don't give them the number, then they do have the right to not service you, or they do have the right to fire you. So that put us in a catch-22 situation. Although it's not the law, they, meaning corporations, meaning the corporatocracy. The corporatocracy is the government, the banksters, and the corporations. They can require from us these numbers. Now, I've not seen anybody use the EIN. My personal business has an EIN. I've not used the EIN. I don't use the slave surveillance number either. But I've not seen anybody use that or accept that because it's been a long time since I've been in the employment arena. But I don't know how that would go if somebody was trying to get employment and they use their EIN number, and people may not know. They could probably get away with using that because it's also 9 digits. I have gone to a doctor's office before where I was paying cash, and when I filled out the initial paperwork, they asked for the slave surveillance number, and I left that blank. And the nurse came out and said, well, you need to fill this part out. I said, no, you don't need this because I'm not filing for any insurance. I am paying cash. She went back in, and she came back out, and she said, well, I'm sorry, ma'am. The doctor said that they still need this. They won't see you without having the Social Security number, so I left. So it just depends. Oh, wow. You can actually probably put the EIN number. Yeah, that was crazy. They did not need that slave surveillance number because I wasn't filing insurance. And I know as a former certified fraud examiner that the number one way to get your identity stolen is in doctors' offices and the like. So the people that are at the desk are the ones that are taking your information. They have your name, they have your address, they have your Social Security number. And at least back in the day, that was the number one way that people were stealing your Social Security number. I got something happened to my rotator cuff, and I went to the doctor about that, and it was an outside doctor, and got a letter several months later saying that they had been hacked. So, no, you don't want to give that out. I don't give that out. That number is somewhere, and I don't give that out. I try not to get in a situation where I have to use it, but you brought up a good point. Try to use an EIN number. And
you know what? I'm going to bring my co-host Taharka on the line. Tahaka, do you remember there's this law? I know it's I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was saying that I know on the IRS, not the IRS, but the Social Security Administration's website, it does say that, because we're in the United States of America, so there's so many immigrants that come in, and they need the same services that we utilize on a daily basis. So it says that they still get education and medical assistance without a Social Security number. And if you don't have one, or you don't provide one, that they have other methods in which they can identify you. But if anyone tries to force you to give them your Social Security number, there's actually a law that says that it is a felony, and I think it's like a few $1,000 fine for it and a couple years imprisonment. Do you remember what that is off the top of your head, Tarika? And if
no, I remember hearing I remember hearing about that, but I never did get to the bottom of it. I didn't pay much attention, but I do remember hearing about it, something to that effect.
Okay.
But I don't know all the details on it.
You're right. I've seen that also, and that was one of the main reasons that I went to the Social Security Administration and said, "Hey, it's supposed to be a felony for these folks to even be forcing me to give it to them." And that was their answer to me. Yeah, but I mean, in other words, you have the right to sue them if you want to for asking for it, but they have the right to not give you services or hire you if you don't give it to them. So who's going to have the time and the money and the energy to go and sue all these different people that are not giving them services because they don't have a slave surveillance number? Nobody. I didn't. I just stopped using it, and I stopped going places that wanted it.
I think that is their power, where just out of convenience. Everyone wants convenience and no one wants the inconvenience. And I think that is the part of their leverage on everything. But before the end of the show, I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to find it. Another one of my questions is, you said that when you found out about it, you had sent your children's Social Security, all of your I like how you said your slave surveillance number back. What did you do? Tell us about your experience when you went to go give the Social Security number back. What happened? Did you get any
pushback? I wrote them a letter. No. I sent the cards back. I wrote them a letter basically saying these numbers were given to these children when they were born, and they're still minors, and we're not accepting these as parents. We're not accepting these numbers. And if these children decide to get numbers when they're older, when they're of age, then they can come and get numbers. And that's all. It was maybe like a 3-sentence letter. I sent them certified mail or FedEx or something like that, and they were pretty much young, and I didn't get any pushback. I didn't get anything. However, the pushback came when they got older and started to try to apply, and even with the so-called driver's license, which is a whole other story I'm sure you've talked about, but you don't even need I went through the whole thing with the driver's license. It's not the driver's license. Really, the purpose of the driver's license is a license is to do something that you otherwise would not be legally able to do. A driver's license is for somebody that owes child support to be able to continue to use a motor vehicle so they can make the money. The rest of us who are supposed to be allowed to travel, we have the right to travel, should not need those driver's licenses. So I went through that whole thing. It's like they know the law. Well, most of the rank and file people that answer the phone don't know the law. But the uppity ups and the muckety mucks, they know the law. They just do not want to follow the law because it gives us too much power. So, yes, when my children got to the point where when my daughter was first and she needed to get back and forth to her homeschool network, they would not, at that point I was married and her father couldn't continue to go back and forth to take her all the way to the school because he was a firefighter. So he ended up giving in to go get, and I was incarcerated, to go get a slave surveillance number, and it just so happened that one that was given back was the same one that was given to her so that she could get back and forth to school. My son was able to get into college without the slave surveillance number.
Interesting. And so how was he able to get into college without it?
put zeros on the application. That's not. See, some colleges follow the law. It's not required. It's really not required.
Wow.
Therefore, they don't care. Some of the colleges would not take his application without the slave surveillance number. Some of them didn't care.
Right, exactly. And and that's that is the thing too, because when I went to the Social Security Administration and I asked them about in person, I asked them about giving the number back. They were saying that they say, well, if you take this back, that you won't be able to work, because that's all it does. It just says that you are legally able to work here in the United States. I said, well, it doesn't matter because I'm an entrepreneur. I work up under EIN number anyways. I don't use it. So and that's why I love the fact in your book you promote actually people stepping out there, opening up their home-based businesses. What kind of advice you have for people who, like I was saying earlier on the show, they was like, I wouldn't know the first thing to do, because there are so many different things out there that they can start to do with home-based businesses. So what are some of your recommendations for people at least getting their feet wet in the home-based business sector?
Well, see, I'm not one that likes to spin my wheels. I would suggest that they get a mentor so that they won't have to go through the things that other people have to go through. I know that most people have a job, and I understand people have to have a job so they can pay their rent and their mortgage and their car notes and all that. The problem lies in what they do when they get off work. So if you have a 9 to 5, the smart person is going to come home and decompress for an hour or two, especially if you have small children. You're going to eat, you're going to spend time with your family and all that. But after that, you are not going to turn on the electronic income reducer called the TV. You are going to do your home-based business. You're going to do it in the evenings for as long as you can stay up, and you're going to do it on the weekends. You are not going to be attending the football games and the basketball games and all that stuff. And my motto is this. I don't watch football and all that. I know what football is, and I know some of the names, and it's like until Cam Newton starts stroking me a check, my team is the Jackson team. So this is where our mindsets needs to be. We need to be focused on our businesses and investing in ourselves. What I did was I went and got a mentor. I said, I have no idea what to do. And he took me through what I needed to do. And from October of 2015, when I first met him, to October, by October of 2016, I was making 6 figures. So I would not have been able to do that on my own because it's just not a one-size-fits-all. If I meet with one client, I might tell them you need to do this. I meet with the next client, they need to do something totally different because it has a lot to do with who you are and your personality and your skill set. So I really don't have any recommendations because some of the things that people do for a business need to be a hobby, and you need to make elegant income. People, get involved in a whole lot of different things, but the question is, are you making elegant income? And this is what elegant income is. And I'm just going to give you an example. And, I hate to offend anybody that is any of your callers or any of your listeners, but there's no way you can get me to do something like Mary Kay or Avon because when the ladies run out of makeup and lipstick, they can go right to Walmart or Target or Kroger to get more. And my competition will never be the local department store or the grocery store. When you're selling tubes of lipstick for Mary Kay, let's say for the sake of argument, the tube of lipstick is $10, and you get 50%, which I know you don't, but let's say for the sake of argument, you get $5 each. If your goal is to make $1,000 a month extra outside of your job, you've got to sell upwards of 200 tubes of lipstick every month in order to make $1,000. That is not elegant income. So you have to find something that's going to make you some more bang for the buck, and it's not always an easy task, but it takes a lot of effort up front. And, my consulting, that's what I do in my consulting business. I help people start 6-figure businesses because I know how to do it. I had to do it. I had to start from nothing. I came out of prison, had to get a minimum wage job, and got a divorce because everybody, wanted to, acting like I was dead and get a hold to my husband and all that. So I started out with nothing. As a matter of fact, what I say is I hit rock bottom and started to dig. But then when I got down there, I said, okay, this is what I say, you will not break me, So you got to start from zero, and I know how to do that. So I teach that. But you got the first thing is the mindset. You have got to say to yourself, I am going to do this. I'm not gonna sit up here and watch Empire while they build their empire and get rich, and I'm sitting here broke, knowing everything that happened on Scandal and all those other shows that are out there. There are weeks at a time when my TV doesn't come on. I like Netflix and PureFlix. If you don't know what PureFlix is, look it up. But I like watching documentaries and movies every once in a while. But last night at 10:45, I finished my 8th book. Okay? That means that I wasn't watching a whole bunch of TV, and I don't know who's winning on this and who the scandal is for the day, and I don't know all of that stuff. But I know one thing. I know how to create stuff that makes money, so that's what I teach other people.
Well, that is awesome. It's awesome. Everyone, Miss Jackson, she wrote this book called How to Stick It to the IRS, Confessions from a Former Insider. And it is an awesome book. I went through, I read it myself. It has some great information in it about some of the topics we're talking about in depth, in detail, actually, about if you decided to open up a home-based business or a side business for you to truly understand Schedule C's and what you can write off. And where is it that they can purchase this book, to let everyone in the audience know all the different places they have where they could purchase the book and let us know about some of the things that you're working on?
Well, on my website, SherryPeelJackson.com, I've got a discount because my other book is How to Escape the Rat Race, and it goes more into how to start home-based businesses. The Stick It to the IRS is more of how to keep your money away from the IRS, and it talks about businesses also and what to deduct. But how to actually get out of debt and start a business and start making some money is in How to Escape the Rat Race. And on my website, SherryPeelJackson.com, there's a book bundle where there's you get the 2 books for a discount. So they can start right there with those books. And if there's somebody that wants to actually get started and have consultation, then they can email me at SherryPeelJackson@gmail.com, and I can, talk to them about that. But I have clients all over the world. I got clients in Taiwan and London and Canada, all over the place, because people want to get out of the rat race.
And see, and that's awesome, because when you have someone that has your expertise, I saw some of your videos, how you all of the certifications you have, being a CPA and being the auditor and working for the IRS, and now your story from rags to riches. That brings me to this. Well, let me say this. That is even more of the reason why you should go to her website and you should purchase her book, so you can get your orders and affairs, your affairs in order. I get dyslexic sometimes, but y'all know what I'm trying to say.
I know.
And speak with Miss Jackson on your issues, since she does consultation, and that way you don't have to worry about, getting, caught up in those snares, because you'll have someone that is on your team. And what is your experience now from after you you told everyone about how after you got out of prison, and then how you had to build yourself back up from nothing to a minimum wage job to 6-figure income. What is the mindset of those people during and after you got out that, just kind of went to the wayside? Where are they now? What is their ideology about you now?
Which people?
The ones that you were saying, because you had, like, your ex-husband, you had to get a divorce, and all of those people who wanted to, just do their own thing, and so you had to start over from scratch. What are their perceptions now, seeing that issue, even though it looked on the outside for a short period of time, like it broke you? And I know did you ever feel as if, those people, whether they were family, friends, or just or spectators, were just saying, oh, you did all of that for nothing, look at the state that it left you? just reflecting on that transition from that point to the point you are now, what is their perception? Do you see a change, or was there a change in their perception from those people from then to now?
Most of the people were 100% with me all the way. Even my husband was. He just let the women get in there at some point or another when I was gone. But I'm a real hardline Christian. I'm a minister. I'm a chaplain. My church was 100% behind me. When I was in prison, there's this thing called a commissary account, where people put money in your account to make sure that you have what you need. There were not many times when my account was under $1,000. People supported me. People still support me. People still send me money monthly. Very few people. I can count the number of people on my hand that actually ran from me. There are people that before I went, they were like, I was scared of you. I was scared to get involved because I'm so scared of the IRS. And I'll tell you this story right here. The real estate agent that helped us buy our second house, very nice lady. And, I started talking to her about all of the things that I was learning prior to me going to prison. And she was, yeah. Everybody said, yeah. But she came back one day and she told me, I need to apologize to you because when you started talking about the income tax and the IRS and all of that, I wasn't disbelieving, and I don't think anybody disbelieves what I say because they know me, and they know the people that know me for a long time know that I'm very serious and not flippant, but they were so afraid. The government has people afraid. She said, I was afraid. Well, she said, one day I went to my church, and the pastor said, I have a special treat for you all tonight. Come back tonight at 6 o'clock. So she said she came back that night, and then they rolled out the screen and put the movie up that I'm in called America, Freedom and Fascism. And she was shocked. Her whole church sat there and watched the movie, and then they had a discussion afterwards. And then somebody said, I wish we knew who that the black lady was in there. And she stood up in the midst of her church, and she says, I know her very well. Several years ago, I helped her buy their house. So she came back and apologized. But no, first of all, I don't care what people. If I cared what people thought about me, I wouldn't have gone to prison. I grew up in Detroit. So I'm not really. I've never really been a person that was afraid, or I wouldn't have stood up the way I did. And I don't care what people think. But for the most part, my family, everybody in my family was behind me. My friends were behind me. My church was behind me, and all the people out there in what you call the patriot movement, or the freedom movement, or the tax movement. These people were behind me, and they're still behind me. I didn't have a situation where people were saying you're crazy, except for the media and the government people. The government people hate me. They hate me because I stood up. Being a former IRS agent and a retired CPA and certified fraud examiner with all these letters behind my name. How dare you get up and talk about, be unpatriotic and say that the income tax is a fraud? Well, truth is truth for everybody, or it's not truth for anybody, and we're being robbed and raped. And until something happens, then we're going to continue to be robbed and raped. But at this point, the people that are standing up are getting their heads chopped off. And what I'm doing, instead of going up to the government and the IRS with a sword and trying to chop off the head of the beast, I'm teaching people how to starve the beast to death by being like their president and starting businesses and being able to write off everything. Because, see, if you just work a job, you can't write off your cell phone, but I can. You can't write off your internet, but I can. The miles that you drive, you can't write those off, but I can because I have a home-based business. So that's what I'm teaching people from the beginning, what business is good for you, all the way up to how to make it be six figures so you can fire your boss.
There is something that I wanted to discuss with you that a lot of our listeners were suffering from, and they were it was this issue about frivolous filing. And I want to read to you just a couple of points from off of a letter that was sent by the IRS to a recipient that they wanted to garnish their wages, put a levy on their bank account. When they responded to their letter saying, you have some frivolous filing and we're going to fine you $5,000. So one of the points that just stood out to me that was kind of hilarious is how they like to ignore you. But they say that, so if you respond to them and say, this is not legal, I don't know what you're talking about, they say, their response is this. In reply to your correspondence, we have determined that the arguments you raised are frivolous and have no basis in law. Federal courts have consistently ruled against such arguments and imposed significant fines for taking such frivolous positions. If you persist in sending frivolous correspondence, now, that's just you disagreeing with what they're trying to get you to acquiesce to, we will not continue to respond to it. Our lack of response to further correspondence does not in any way convey agreement or acceptance of the argument advanced. If you desire to comply with the law concerning your tax liability, you are encouraged to seek advice from a reputable tax practitioner or attorney. Then they go on further to state that there are some people who encourage others to violate our nation's tax laws by arguing that there is no legal requirement for them to file income tax returns or pay income taxes. These people base their arguments on legal statements taken out of context and on frivolous arguments that have been repeatedly rejected by federal courts. People who rely on this kind of information can ultimately pay more in taxes, interest, and penalties than they would have paid simply by filing correct tax returns. People who violate the tax laws also may be subject to federal criminal prosecution and imprisonment. Information about the IRS criminal enforcement program is available on the internet at irs.gov. Once there, enter the keyword fraud. The IRS is working with the United States Department of Justice and state taxing authorities to ensure that all taxpayers pay the lawful share of taxes and to seek criminal indictments or civil enforcement actions against people who promote or join in abusive and fraudulent tax schemes. And you can obtain IRS publication 2105, Why Do I Have to Pay Taxes, from our internet website, irs.gov, and it has the publication there for the 2105. And they say, we also refer you to a document entitled The Truth About Frivolous Tax Argument. So, and then they just go on stating Title 20 of the United States Code. So my question to you is, what is your response to that? They say that they have they have these books and these pamphlets and these websites and criminal enforcement programs, and what do you have is lawful, and they're calling everybody else. They're trying to get you to get involved in these untruth advocates. What do you have to say in response to this letter that a taxpayer received from the IRS for frivolous filing?
I've seen that letter. That's a form letter, and it goes out over and over again, millions of times probably around the country, if not hundreds of thousands of times. First of all, I want everybody that has that letter to realize how many times they say something about the law, but they say federal courts have upheld or federal courts have dismissed. Why is it that any of us would think that a scheme that is diabolical and as dastardly as the IRS could be broken down by us when all of them are in cahoots together? For example, if I come out and show you what they call Internal Revenue Code 61, and IRS Code 61 says any income from whatever source derived is presumed to be income under Section 61 unless the taxpayer can establish that it is specifically exempted or excluded. That is a whole book full of information. First of all, they don't define income. I want all of your listeners and all of your subscribers to go online and find Tommy Crier's memorandum. It's called the memorandum. And if you email me, I will send you not only the memorandum, but all of the transcript, Crier's trial. Tommy Crier's trial was in 2007. Tommy Crier was a lawyer from Shreveport, Louisiana, who had not filed tax returns in over 10 years. He had a jury trial, and he was found innocent because he submitted to the court and was able to relay to the jury 109-page memorandum where he compiled court cases from the Supreme Court of the United States all the way down to state Supreme Court that prove that the definition of income, which is, by the way, nowhere in the Internal Revenue Code, the definition of income is corporate profit. So what that means is when I come and cut your grass, and we make a contract for me to cut your grass for $100, I use my arms, my legs, and my brain to cut your grass and shrubbery very neatly. And in exchange for that, you give me $100. That is an even exchange because I use my life energy in exchange for the $100 so I can feed my family. However, when Walmart makes $100,000 today at store A, and that $100,000, part of it is used to pay the electricity that day, the employees that day, the mopping supplies to clean the bathroom or whatever else, and out of that $100,000, they spent $50,000 on expenses. What's left over is another $50,000, which is profit, and that is what's taxable. So we exchange resources for our life to eat and to have shelter and food and clothes. They make a profit because they had $100,000 and they paid for all of their needs and have $50,000 left over. In a nutshell, that's what the law really says. That's what the court cases say, from the Supreme Court all the way down to state court cases. That is what Tommy Cryer was able to relay to the jury. That is what other people have been able to relay where they seal those court cases. Some of those court cases are sealed. So what I'm saying to you is they will not let the system fall because they will lose the money and they will lose the power. So I don't care how many arguments you set forth, and I don't care if you have the law perfectly lined up when you send these letters in. They're not going for it because they don't want the system to fall. The powers that be will not let this system fall that way. Now, that jury was smart enough to see that Tommy was right. But when you're sending letters in to the IRS specifically explaining your research, they're going to call it frivolous because you're showing that you don't owe the income tax, and they want you to pay the income tax. When your listeners go out and look at that movie, America, From Freedom to Fascism, they will see IRS uppity-ups that are tie-tongue when it comes down to trying to answer where is the law that requires people to file and pay. They start talking about court cases, which are not the law. They start talking about patriotic duty, but they never come out and say this particular law says that you got to pay. And they can't do that because then there'll be rebuttal behind that. So all of these people filing with the OID and all these other things, I'm not saying that their research is wrong. I'm saying that they will not win writing these letters because if one person wins, others are going to find out, and then the system will be broken. There are so many people that call me that have gotten thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars back from the government because they wrote certain letters quoting certain laws. And it seems to me that the person receiving the letters read the letters and understood and followed the law and gave these people their money back. But somehow when it made it up the chain, somebody said, oh, heck no, we can't let them have this $390,000 back. So these people get this money back and they go spend this money, and 12 to 18 months later, they get a letter or a knock on the door saying, hey, you falsely got this refund. It was a mistake on our part. You got to pay this $390,000 back plus penalties and interest, or we're going to lock you up. I know personally people that had retired and had to go back to work because the time in between when they got the money and the time that they got the letter, they had spent either all or most of the money, and they had to go back to work to get the money. And some of these people got put in jail because they were actually helping people to produce these letters and get money back. People call me because of who I am and tell me this. I don't know anybody that has gone past 3 years with money back, hundreds of thousands of dollars or $80,000 back, that did not get a letter saying, give me this money back. We can't win that way. We got to regroup and learn their game and beat them at it. Leona Helmsley said back in the day, only the poor people pay taxes. And your president is saying the same thing right now because he knows the tax law, and Leona Helmsley knew the tax law. So the way the tax law is written to hurt us and to help businesses, they should be ashamed, but we should be ashamed for not knowing it and following it.
Now, people that are filing taxes and they receive tax refunds back, are those tax refunds taxable or considered income? Is it also taxable?
In most states, if you get a state refund, the federal wants money from it. Your regular state refund, your regular federal refund is just your money back. People say, I don't pay any taxes. I get a refund every year. I said, pull out your W-2. And then I look at their W-2 and I said, these people took $12,000 from you. You gave these people a $12,000 loan with no interest, and they just gave you $2,000 back a year later. And you're telling me you don't pay taxes? We got to wise up. We got to stop being ignorant. See, ignorant is when you don't know. Ignorant is when you don't want to know. And there's too many ignorant people out there that don't want to know what's going on. They want to bury their heads in the sand because of fear. We got to stop being fearful. Okay? We got to stop being fearful and fight for our families. The last thing I want to do is have my daughter, my son, and my granddaughter be slaves to a system that's taking their life force, their energy away from them, 50% of their paycheck. Because think about it, it's not just the income tax. We pay 51% of our resources in taxes because you got taxes on your cell phone, your electricity, your gas, your gasoline, your state income taxes, your sales taxes, all these taxes, and then your estate taxes. When you die, they take the money. We got to stop this, and you got to get smart about it. Don't get angry. Get smart. My dad used to say this to me: for whom the gods destroy, they first make mad. Don't get mad. Sit back, read them, learn them, beat them.
Also, give the audience your email address. You were saying that anyone that sends an email to you, that you would send out the information on the gentleman's case. I know that from the radio station, we'll most definitely send you that email for that information. Either you can give that your email address out so that you can reply back with that information about that court case that had those Supreme Court laws in it, or everyone, you can also email the consciouscouch@gmail.com, and we can forward that information to you as well. But if you are obliged, you go ahead and give that information to the audience.
Yeah, I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send that to Conscious Couch so that you can send that out. I right now I'm getting over 200 emails a day, and I'm trying to handle that myself with a little bit of help. But yeah, I want to send that to you so that you can post it wherever you want to post it. You can post that there because what I'm trying to do is streamline. The people that email me, those are the ones that have looked at the website and they want some consultation. Otherwise, they can go to get the books off of the website. And some other stuff off the website. But if they say to me, if they're ready for me to help them jumpstart their business, then they can send me an email because I'm totally overwhelmed with email.
Okay, we'll do that. So everyone, you email the conscious couch at gmail.com and put in your request, and we'll send that back to you. This email that is on the back of your book, spjacksonconsulting.com.
Right.
That's
still a valid email.
Okay, that's a valid website. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Another thing I wanted to talk about, because you just mentioned some things, and it was about the W-9, W-4. I remember when I was in telecommunications and I hired people, and I gave them the forms, but I gave them the choice. You could go W-9 or you can fill out a W-4. For those who were conscious and new. I didn't have them, just stuck in just with one guideline. For the ones that did the W-4, I know that the IRS states that if you are considered an employee, which means that the person, gives you your schedule and, pays you a fixed rate and things of that nature, they're considered an employee. So therefore, there are certain insurances that you have to carry, like workman's comp, and I had to match. I had to, all the different things that are on the paycheck. I forget if you were. It's been a while. The people who you don't even know who those company is besides Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever it is, and it's another one that starts with an F. Is all these acronyms
FICA.
Of these people you don't know. FICA, and outside of just the income, the taxes, I had to pay into a match program all those services for them to match it with the government. So do you think that is the reason why employers push the W-4 for employment, because what the penalty is on the end of the employer is the fines if they're not paying their part into the social form program, because they have these people listed down as employees and they have to have certain coverages for them?
Most companies don't want. Well, no. It really, the IRS is kind of strict about that. There's like 20 different questions to ask if a person is an employee versus a subcontractor. Now, if you are a contractor for a company, that company is not responsible for any of your taxes, nor are they responsible for health insurance or anything like that. Companies like that, but a lot of times companies will put a person down as a contractor and they're really an employee, so they get in trouble for that. They would rather have the contractor. But the problem right now is people my age are not going to get Social Security. People your age are definitely not going to get Social Security. I'll be 56 in November, and I don't even think it's going to be there for me because there are not enough workers out there to take care of the baby boomers. I'm right at the tail end of the baby boom. So you've got 50,000 people every day, not month. Every day, 50,000 people in the United States are retiring. There are not enough workers to take care of those people. So Social Security is broke now, but it's going to be totally flat broke, and they won't be able to steal money from other places pretty soon. And so that's why I feel for the young people that are being dragged into that situation with Social Security, because they're paying into something that they'll never have. So no, the companies don't want to. I got a video out there somewhere on that. Companies don't want to have employees, but they end up having to have them because if they have that much control of your schedule, the insidious representatives of Satan, better known as the IRS, want you to be an employee.
Okay, so that way they can guarantee to get that loan advancement from you, that they don't have to pay that interest-free until the end of the year. Okay, great. Another thing that you were discussing was in your book was about the cure method versus the cash method, and I think that those are in business or getting ready to go into a form of self-employment. What is the difference between the accrual method and the cash method, and which one do you think that you think is best for someone that either is in business now or that is what is the benefit? What's the pros and cons between the two? That's the question.
Ooh. Okay, so usually like large corporations and medium-sized corporations will use the accrual method. And to make it simple, because some of this stuff is Greek to some people, the accrual method is when you have to report income that is not there yet. For example, if I was on the accrual method and I have a client at the end of July, which is coming up on Wednesday, that I have invoiced $2,000 for the month, and even if they haven't paid it, I have to put that in as income. So I have to count that money as income because it's been invoiced. It's an account receivable. On the other hand, if I have an expense that's supposed to go out and I haven't yet sent it out, but it's due, and I key that in, I can take that expense also. I don't particularly like that for small businesses. Small businesses that are up and running, just, the sole proprietors, I like the cash method because you can't get confused with that. That accrual method is usually done when you have an accounting software, let's say like QuickBooks. QuickBooks, when you key in, let's say if I have QuickBooks, which I use on the cash method, but if I have QuickBooks and I'm on the accrual, when I get a bill from my, my marketing team, if I get a bill from my marketing team for $1,000 for this month, I'll key that in, and it will come out for me as an expense. But if I get a $5,000 client and they pay me partial, but they're supposed to pay me, I've got to put that invoice in, and I've got a count of $5,000 that's not really there. And I have some large clients that had trouble with that because they had a big contract, and at the end of the year, the people that they were getting the money from hurried up and paid them all the money so that the people could get an expense, but they didn't have any expenses to write off against it. So that can be dangerous. I like the cash method. It's easier for everybody until you start getting really big.
Okay. Now, everybody, remember you can call in at 310-982-4184. Again, 310-982-4184. And you would want to dial 1 and I believe the pound key afterwards so that you can be able to raise your hand, tune in so you can speak to our guest. You're listening to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch, and our today's guest is Ex-I.R.S.Agent Sherry Peel Jackson. So would you say that even if you have a small business as a sole proprietor, when you're doing your writing off, you're doing your Schedule C, so that you can also reduce the income, it's smart to don't forget to even pay yourself, or that's not necessary if you're a sole proprietor?
No, that's not necessary. When you're a sole proprietor, whatever falls out at the end of that Schedule C is what you get. For example, if you make $100,000 and your expenses come up to $80,000, then that $20,000 is going to be taxable income, and also it'll be what you pay your portion of the Social Security tax on, which will be 15.3%, I believe. So you pay an income tax and you pay self-employment tax, which is really Social Security tax, on that $20,000. So you don't have to write yourself checks and all that. You just get good at writing off everything but the kitchen sink and justifying it and making sure the records are there. I have too many people coming to me saying, "Oh, I got audited by the IRS. I'm in trouble because my accountant has all these expenses on there and I don't have any receipts for it." That's the danger, because when the IRS audits you for a year and they find that they got money back, they will pick up all open years, which means that you'll be audited not for 1 year, but at least for 3 years at the same time.
Okay, I see. Now, I do grasp the concept that if you are selling a product or providing maybe an intangible service, that that money that you make is considered income. You will pay taxes on that. But if it's tangible, it's pecuniary wages, it's your sweat equity, then that is not considered income. So that leads me to this question. So someone, for example, just like in your book, is works for hair salon. They're a beautician, a barber, and they're in the business, they are a sole proprietor. But the question is because their business is really technically sweat equity. They're not. So wouldn't it, even though they're working for themselves, be considered pecuniary wages, sweat equity, in the sense that they would not have to pay taxes on that, even though they're working under a sole proprietorship, which is kind of a corporate status? That, to me, it just seems kind of catch-22-ish. What is your response to that?
They don't give a hot flash about our sweat equity. Every dime that supposedly we bring in is income to them. Going back to the example of me cutting your grass for $100, that's all sweat equity, except for the gas that I use and maybe the repair on my lawnmower. The rest of that's sweat equity, but they don't care about that. They want tax on the whole $100 bill. That's wrong on so many different levels. So what we have to do as savvy entrepreneurs is try to make sure that we can write off everything. We need to be able to write off, like for example, mileage. The mileage rate for 2018 is 54.5%, which means that for every 2 miles that I drive for business purposes, I get to write off $1. And everybody else can't write off anything if they don't have a business. We need to learn that whole system, because it's not just about you saying I drove from A to B and that was business miles. There's a whole way that you have to keep track of that. And what is business miles versus commuting miles? When you go back and forth to your job, that's commuting miles. But there's business miles versus commuting miles. We just need to learn. We need to turn off the TV and the video games and the movies and all that and learn how to save ourselves and our family, because the wealthy already know how. And they teach each other. It goes down from generation to generation. My folks didn't know that. My grandparents didn't know that. But I know it, and I'm teaching it, and I'm teaching my children. And everybody around me that's my client, they're teaching their children. I'm having a workshop in Orlando on August 4th. And I have a set of clients down there, and all 3 of their grown children have signed up for the seminar because they want their children to understand how to build wealth. We just got to figure out whether it's more important for us to be watching TV or buying wheels and spinners for our cars. Our $4,000 car has $8,000 spinners on it, or we need to learn how to build wealth.
We do need to learn how to build wealth. So that's Orlando. That you have you have a seminar in Orlando. Is it an open seminar where our listeners could attend? And if so, how would they be able to register?
They can go to my Facebook page, Sherry Peel Jackson, and there is a link there, and I can't tell you what the link is right now. Or they can go to my blog site, sherrypeeljackson.org. Let me see if it's up. And register for that. There is a cost, of course. There will be refreshments, and it'll be basically an education, because I have not really done much with seminars this year. I know a whole bunch of stuff that's going on that I'll be discussing. And so if they go to sherrypeeljackson.com and go to About Me and click the blog, it will talk about my Orlando. Let me see if I can find that link. Oh, my gosh. Secrets-of-the-wealthy. Just go to my Facebook. Go to my Facebook and get the link, because all of that stuff is just a bit much. But, yes, there is a cost to it. It's definitely worth your time, because you get to spend time with me, ask personal questions, and they get both books. Both of my books are a part of this. When I go and do a seminar, it's more about trying to get people there to get educated. So my books, which are normally $35 each, are a part of the cost of, they're included in the cost of the seminar. And, if you've got people that are in Orlando, Tampa's only an hour away, Winter Haven is only about 30 minutes away. I see people, and I hate to say this, but when I have these seminars, more Europeans come to these seminars because they see the value in learning the stuff that I know about the IRS and about building wealth than other people. It's like, oh, it's a Saturday, I'm going to the football game, or I'm going, those are the kind of things that I get. Not that some people don't come, but I believe that spending $97 is definitely going to save somebody. I will be giving away at least one millionaire secret, one of the secrets that my mentor told me as to how to make $1 million quickly. And it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. In other words, what is a get-rich-slow scheme? I don't know what that is. But he taught me some things, and I teach these things when I'm in seminars because I want everybody to succeed. I don't want to be the only one on the beach, 4 times a year. I don't want to be the only one out there. I want to see us there. Right now I'm buying some land on the Caribbean, on the Afro-Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. That place is about to blow up and be another Cancun, and I wish there was some more African Americans that could go down there and invest because the Europeans have found out about the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica that has been the stepchild of Costa Rica. The black people were brought up there to build a railroad and to do the banana farming and the coconut farming way back in the day. Those folks didn't even get their independence till 1948, and they couldn't even leave the area and go into other parts of Costa Rica until 1948, and that place has been left behind. But somebody discovered that it has the second best surfing beach in the world, and the Europeans are scrambling to get that property, and the municipality down there is screaming for us black folks in the United States to come down there and help them. This is where Marcus Garvey settled. They have, in Limon, they have a statue and a museum to Marcus Garvey, and I'm scared that if we don't get up and do something, 5 years from now, we'll never know Marcus Garvey was there. They always get to jump on us because we always doing other stuff and not paying attention. But I'm down there in the trenches with my boots on up to my knees in mud, trying to check this property out and trying to get property so we can have a legacy for our families. This is the kind of stuff I teach in these workshops.
Oh, that is awesome, and that's most definitely what we do need to be involved in. And also, having to have access to knowing that these things are available. So is this information is also available on your site as well for people? How can people know more and look into it?
The information about the Afro-Caribbean coast of Costa Rica and the Cancun that we're about to build is on middleofparadise.com.
Okay.
Middle of Paradise, and that is our site. Those of us who are trying to do something to help the people of Limon make sure that they don't get taken over. You know what gentrification is. This is gentrification on steroids because this beautiful Caribbean water, and you don't want them to get down there and make up all these rules and laws and push all of the indigenous Bree and other tribes that are there, all of that would be pushed off. So it's on middleofparadise.com.
Okay, middleofparadise.com. We'll make sure that we post it up on our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is Conscious Couch is the Facebook page, so you can tune in there as well. And I have one more question before closing. So I know that you can, as far as a corporation is concerned, a company is concerned, you can discharge a debt that's over $600, with filling out, certain forms. But that's what it will, as far as if there's money you paid somebody that's $600 or more for services or products or whatnot, it is you'll send them a 1099 so that they can be able to report that income to the IRS. But what about, so that means the income that someone has received from you or that you paid out and it's under $600, you can't claim that, or you can claim it maybe on your Schedule C just as a write-off, but it's not a requirement to send in some type of form to the IRS that you paid it out to a particular person?
That is correct. If you pay somebody, first of all, it doesn't apply to corporations. It applies to sole proprietors. So if I pay someone $500 during the year, I am not required to send the 1099 out per the IRS. But per the IRS, they're still required to report it. If I pay somebody $1,700, I am required to send a 1099. So this year and last year, I had to send out 1099s because I pay people that don't have. There's a form called a W-9. That's who you send the W-9 out to people that work for you or are doing work for you. That's when you find out whether they're a sole proprietor or a corporation or partnership or whatever. So some of the people that I paid in 2017, they were corporations. I'm not required to send the 1099 out for a corporation. But 4 of the people that I paid were sole proprietors. So I was required to send out, because they were over $600. I was required to send out the 1099. There were another 4 or 5 people that I paid money to that were under $600. I wrote it off, but I didn't have to send them a 1099, nor did I send them a 1099. They're the ones that are required to file on that. And if they do, they do. And if they don't, they don't. The IRS will catch you if you are putting money in the bank that you don't put on your tax return. For example, if you have –
okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
If you have a tax return and you put $50,000 on your tax return, if you're audited, the IRS is automatically going to do a scan of your bank statements. They're going to do some work with your bank statements. And if your bank statements say 80, they're automatically going to think that you underreported your income by $30,000, and you have to prove that you didn't.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm telling you, Sherry, it's been a pleasure. It's been great having you on Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. I hope, once we get feedback from more callers, we can have you on the show again, and we can just touch bases with you to see where you are, what products you're working on during that period of time, so that we can, follow you and support you and everything that you're doing, because supporting you is supporting us. Thank you for coming on the show. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Again, you are listening to Rahchamah's Conscious Couch with Ex-I.R.S.Agent Sherry Field. Thank you for giving us a call. Tune in every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern at Rahchamah's Conscious Couch. Follow us on Facebook at Conscious Couch. But in the meantime, get off my couch.